Hey there! Thanks for tuning in this edition of Madman with the Show. Zane, your host. It's Friday. If you haven't realized this, if you watched it then, it's time for the weekend. A lot of craziness going on. We're not going to discuss the major issue here. We're going to try to bring you other issues, because I know everybody's talking about that, what's going on. And I'm not even going to say what it is, and you know what we're talking about here. Safe to say, you, as my viewers, can come here safe to hear other news if you want to get away from this insanity. And I tell you, I'm going to bring you other stuff. I'm going to bring you other insanity, pretty much, as you've been seeing on there. If you see my other episode later today, when this airs, about what's going on in Japan in one of the districts. It's a major problem going on there. And you'll pick that up, and it's it's a crazy story, but you'll understand when you see it. But let's talk about what's going on. We discussed what's going on in Australia, the ban on mature content in anime, manga, hentai, collectible accessories, that basically the port of entries are denying these packages and sending them back according to J-lists. Well, this came out. This is an article that came out this week at Bounding Info Comics. Thanks to Bounding Into Comics again, especially Spencer. Always a great article. Always a great read for any of his stories that he puts there. I mean, he's straight and direct with his stories when it comes to issues like this. And what is going on is the resistance is beginning in Australia, as far as how retailers are dealing with the ban, and coming from a company called Otana JP, which is it's an adult site for Japanese adult related material, toys, stuff like that. Stuff that's adult, that you would see in an adult. And we'll read up on that. It's in light of the reports of the Australia was enforcing a ban on the import of hentai and adult anime products into the country. Adult anime retailer Otana JP has released a statement reassuring their customers that they will continue to ship animated related adult products to the land down under. Otana JP opened their statement by recalling that about 2 weeks ago, the news arose that hentai and adult toys are now banned in Australia, and how the news, which was spread by some retailers, soon were picked up by several outlets, including here, making the whole hentai community living in Australia worried and feeling insecure. The Japanese-based retailer then noted their desire to straighten out a few things here without making this post too long. Before stressing how we speak on the behalf and cannot and will not comment on other retailers' position or statements, Otana JP still ships to Australia with Japan Post as well as DHL. They stated directly, Australia has already been one of the countries that have been more strict rules in place than others when it comes to hentai content for quite some time now. I can understand that. That's one thing about with hentai. There is lines that some of the hentai does cross, but there's others that it doesn't. And basically, they have to distinguish between the others. And when you start to ban the whole thing nature, let me refresh. Yes, there's child porn out there, and it's illegal. And obviously, it is illegal. It's immoral, all that. But then you have pornography. Pornography and child pornography are two different subjects that should not be clamped together. If you're taking regular porn and calling child porn and slapping it together and saying we're banning all that, you're not getting rid of the issue. You're just sweeping it under the rug. The issues are, the child porn is a separate issue altogether. And it has to be remedied separately. And you can't just make excuses that, this sort of looks like on it, this not. This week, I just finished watching the entire first season of No Game, No Life. For the points that it is a mature series, and there is some nudity, it is not, and I repeat, it is not child pornography. I can't speak for the manga. I can only speak for the video. I eventually going to order a volume or two and go through it. But from what I have seen, and this is on Netflix, mind you, and I've watched the dub version and I've watched the subtitle version. I do not see what Australia says is child pornography in it. Now, the scenes that have some nudity in it, and they're saying that there's child nudity, are baths. Okay, for those of you who have not seen it, it's taking a bath in a Japanese bath place. Okay, generally that is normal in a lot of movies and TV series that represent Japanese culture. The scenes where are outside, where some of the nudity it's done as a joke. Most, with the exception of one character out of all of them, as far as the nudity goes, are considered over 18. So they are adults. The scenes of the nudity are very shadowed. In simpler terms, they're the avola, the privates below, it's not exposed. Whereas in a hentai situation, you would see full exposure, you would see touching of that nature, and stuff like that. No, this is done in a sense, in a mature, I would have to say, could be R, might be a little bit below PG-13, but I would remedy toward a little bit in between. For the reason is most of the series doesn't even reflect to what Australia has talked about. The truth, however, is also many countries in the world have similar laws, and where comes worse, custom officers is pretty much in any country in the world can stop your package based on their laws if they consider they shown characters too young. Yeah, most of the countries do it. It's not like what the way Australia is saying, but basically, yeah, the U.S. does ban some of this stuff coming in. So does Europe. So besides being stricter than others, the situation in Australia is not much different from the U.S. or even Europe, they concluded. So in other words, they've been prepared for this. As for what has changed for the Australian customs, Otana JP reassured those concerned that, to be honest, nothing will be different, at least not ordering from us. We have shipped well over 500 packages to Australia alone every month with no troubles. Most of them with DHS, they explain. Sure, things can change and certain deliveries options may not be available anymore in future or change. But we will always continue to serve and support our Australian customers and the hentai community down under. It should be noted that Otana JP primarily specializes in adult toys and similar items rather than outright hentai, manga, and games. Yeah, they're a mixture. It is possible that though the packaging of some of these items feature risque and sometimes explicit character artwork, the fact is that these items are not media form of pornography, may serve as a point of distinction in the eyes of Australian customs. However, as of writing of this, this remains speculation. Now, here's the thing that they also mentioned in their, because the statement that they put on bounding is just a basic statement, but reading from their additional statement is that the way they're packaging the items is that they will be brown wrapping mostly everything, which in the adult industry, as far as like people like adamandeve.com, they ship out with no labels, anything on that. The address label is a general address label. It does not mention the company. It doesn't mention, the full address. In other words, you can't tell it's adult material. Now, as far as Otango JP, they are doing the same and probably have been doing for quite some time now. Now, understand that when things are shipped country to country, there has to be a manifest for the customs agents. It's easy to put down toys, collectibles, and stuff like that on there. Now, if they choose to x-ray the unit or to open the packages, that is the discretion of customs. But they would have to have a little bit more proof that there is an issue with the product putting a label on that doesn't identify that the company is a manga or anime or Japanese adult anime company may make it a little bit more easier, but it may also, the way Australia tends to excite everything, they may decide to open every package, which would cause a bigger issue, which might start to involve any company as far as the country of origin government involved, because basically they would set in and say, listen, why do you have to open up every package? Do you have evidence to the nature? The only thing they could do is scan the items. If they think there's something at the discretion, they can open it. But if they start opening every package, I think that becomes an issue within itself. We see that the defiance that this one particular company, J-List, may do the same, which they probably have. I've worked with, because like I said, I worked in the industry as far as the video industry. The companies that we've worked with when it comes to adult material, and we're talking X-rated movies, they're wrapped plain wrapper when it was mailed out. Like I said, no identifying on there, and never had an issue shipping to certain countries, because there was calls for certain countries, and the same thing with incoming, because sometimes we would get masters from other countries to dub the adult films into English, or to mass produce it with the original language kept intact without some people don't even put subtitles in on that, and that's a long story to talk about on another edition. Maybe I'll do something about talking about the industry itself, because there's so many factors. Different companies, they have the ways they handle one thing to another. Not all companies are the same when it comes to adult material from overseas when they're transferring it in. Some do the duplication overseas, some do it here. Things have changed in the years now. So, downloads are much easier to handle. And that's the other thing. Is Australia going to start putting a tap on the internet? Like China does. And start looking at what people watch. You start to go through a slippery slope as far as democracy and your freedoms. Because basically, I understand you want to get rid of child pornography by going after No Game, No Life, Sword Art Online, anything of the mature. I mean, I had someone ask me, is My Hero Academia going to get banned? It's a slippery slope there, because I know technically it is not considered mature, but the Australian board could take that and consider it. And then you start to see other low, what they call PG-13 type anime get pushed into the same bat as mature. And then once it hits to the mature labeling, then it gets banned. I mean, that's what I'm reading from the law, because what is being banned is the mature content. And like I said in the other episode, you have a movie like Graveyard of the Fireflies. From a point of view from the U.S., it's considered a PG-13. But when you look on the Australia sites or IMDb, as far as the separate listing of how it's listed as far as their views, they list it as mature content. Now, why is it listed as mature content? I can understand, because it's dealing with Hiroshima, life and death, and stuff like that. I wouldn't show a young kid this, even though it's an anime, but it is a very good anime, because it is just heartbreaking to see what happens to these children while trying to survive after a atomic bomb explosion in Japan. Not uncommon to the movie, what was that, with Malkovich, Miranda Richardson, and Christian Bale, Empire Under the Sun. That movie is about a boy living British boy living in Japanese internment camp during World War II. And there is a scene where there is the bombing of Japan in that movie. I mean, unlike the way it's portrayed in Graveyard of the Fireflies, there are some similarities of it, and it is a very good movie to watch as well. But getting back to the ban, here we are. There are companies out there willing to defy the orders of the Australian government and to deal with their customers. They have customers all over the world. They want to impose their own rules and regulations that just basically defy some democracies that are going on here. That, it is nobody's business what you order as far as adult-oriented material, whether or not you call it child pornography. Child pornography, yes, it is illegal, but you cannot slap on that on everything else of the mature order. You cannot call standard pornography child pornography. You cannot take anime and call it child pornography. Yes, the animators do draw their characters a little young. Usagi-chan, perfect example. She's 19 years old, large-breasted. They consider that child pornography, and it's not. She's 19 years old and in college. These people just flip through these things. They flip through the magazines. They flip through the mangas. They look at 2 seconds of the video, or they screenshot the particular video, the particular scene, that is in dispute, and then, slap it child pornography. You can't keep doing that. You're gonna end up in a book burning like the Aussies did. You're doing the same thing on there. You're creating a boogeyman that basically is not everywhere. Yes, there are some boogeymans there, but the thing about it is there is a distinction to separate that from the rest. So tell me yourselves in the comments below, what do you think of this situation? How do you feel about some of this adult material going into Australia and maybe into your country? I know I do have people watching this show on YouTube from Australia, Indonesia, South America, and the United Kingdom, as well as the United States. So I also ask those of you who are in these countries that whereas you've had a ban on it, let me know how you guys feel about it. Are you still getting the products readily from these companies? That still, it's not a major issue. It may take a little bit longer, but you still get it. So thanks to you who have subscribed, especially those my friends overseas in Australia, Indonesia, UK, South America. Thank you. You guys have been great. I know that you guys have been subscribing and watching it, and thank you to those in the US also. I see where all you guys are coming from as far as when you comment, when you subscribe. So those of you who haven't yet and are watching my videos, maybe I've earned your subscription today. Don't forget to hit that like and share my video. Thank you for tuning in. And thank you those on there. Don't forget, when you're watching it, it's Friday. Check out NERDROTIC. It's Friday night tights night. Love the live show. It goes on for several hours. It comes on around 5 p.m., 6 p.m. Eastern. As far as on the East Coast, this is when I'm seeing it. I know Gary Bueller is on the West Coast in San Diego, but we get to see it around our time, around 5, live at about 5, 6. Great guests. Great, you have various guys on there, geeks and gamers. You had Ethan Van Sciver on last week during the Halloween. It was a great show in the Halloween episode. So do catch that. And don't forget, Saturday, 12 noon, come down to the Madman Cafe, brunch with the Madman, talking many different issues, commenting on your comments, responding to your comments. And don't forget, we're also on Monday with the Madman Cafe as well. So check us out those days. Yes, I hear my cat in the background. She's romping around. That's my other one, Nani. So I got to go check on her. Until next time, thank you for watching, and we'll see you.